Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Let me see here. We are on week 34 of 5. We were going to do 5 sessions. Now we're at 34. And we've got a return guest joining us, Van Council. We'll welcome here in a little bit. Use the chat. We'd love to hear from you. What's going on? How are you? Where are you from? Just keep it interactive, please. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, this is a roundtable. This is sponsored by Qnity, produced, sponsored, curated, all of the above. We do have some sponsors, Aura and Vish. They did amazing sessions as educators for us. It's stored with our other past recordings. Last week, we had a trio, a great trio between Kate, Heath, and Josh, all having something very relevant to share. It was awesome as usual. And then this week, returning, we have the one and only Van Council, who I thought joined us 4 months ago. I realized it was actually quite a bit before that. My, how time flies. So we'll get to Van in a moment here. Past recordings of the weekly financial roundtable is posted in the Plan for Profits portal. It's an amazing body of work that is with a lot of contributors. As far as a schedule, this is what we have coming up in the next few weeks. I know Robert Cromian is going to be a guest with us very soon, probably the week after next. And we've got some other great guests and great information to share. A shout out to our brain trust, our ever-growing brain trust, which we now have to keep. We have to add space. We have multiple contributors, including Van. This will be the second time by Van. And no doubt we'll continue to have some great guests joining us. So thanks to the members of the Brain Trust, of which includes many of you guys. There's a 9-grid, the Qnity visual thinking tool that should have gone out in the email with the invite. Use that to take notes, to create a mind map, storyboard, or visual step-by-step. Again, feel free to use the chat. I won't necessarily be tuned into the chat because I'm going to be tuned into Van here, but we have members of the team that will monitor the chat. One of the requests we do have for Van and all of our guests is that they are not on call. They are doing this out of the goodness of their heart and to contribute to financial sustainability in the professional beauty industry. So any questions you have, glad to answer while we're on this session during the call. But our guests are busy folks, so we ask that we protect that. All right, Van, let's get off of mute. And how you doing?
I'm great, Tom. How are you doing?
Good. You know, when I talked to you, I thought, you know, Van, we talked to you a few months ago, and you were a guest, and we're going to invite you back. And I thought it was a few months ago. It was July 22nd.
You forgot about me.
No, I can't believe that much time has gone by. It's been 7 months.
Yeah, it's been a fun 7 months.
Yeah, living the dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and I'm glad to see a few participants on too. So good morning, everyone.
Well, thanks for joining us. So let's, for those people that don't know you, let's just have a quick summary. So you have a portfolio of salons in the US that you own and operate with an amazing team, both on the business and the creative side. One of the things I so admire about you and your company is your strength in both. And then you also have a venture as it relates to Japan. So how many locations? Also tell us a little bit about Japan.
Yeah, so, like I said, it's eight salons in Atlanta, and we have 44 in Japan. So there's about 700 employees there. So and they're doing well, so they didn't close down, during the pandemic. Actually, most of those salons they were up for the year, which is pretty interesting. By those businesses not closing and them wearing their mask and doing their protocols and staying open, most of the salons are up 5 or 10% over there, which is completely the opposite of what's going on in America, right?
What's the structure of your Japanese, is this a franchise license or something like that?
It's a combination between a partnership and a license agreement. So okay. There's 44 different owners actually over there. So it's all structured differently. But we do have a holding company there that they're all under.
Yeah, and I assume you haven't been able to get over there since the pandemic started. Is that right?
I went there right in the beginning of the pandemic. Last year, I went the like first week of March. I was there when everything was starting to happen. It was actually, I was concerned about going when I went, but yes, I hadn't been back. And they normally come here in the fall or in the first of the year. They come about 3 times a year, so they haven't been back here either, you know. So, but now we live in the world of Zoom, and now it's like I'm talking to them all the time. You know, before then I would only get, you know, I'd only see them 2, 3 times a year, but now it's pretty weekly. Somebody's
It's
on the Zoom. Yeah.
so when last time you were on, we were pretty much in the thick of things. I mean, it was July 22nd. I think you'd been open a few months. I think at the time you were reporting your numbers down like 30%. So let's get an update on what's the state of the union in your business from a growth standpoint.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, we're still in the thick of things, really. I know Georgia yesterday, we had a record high number of new cases, you know, so it's kind of funny. I don't know the word to say we feel like it's over. We're just so used to it and everybody's going on about their lives, but you know, it's still there, you know, so it's still affecting our business. So for 2020, we ended up for the year about 28% down. And the biggest hit was the 5 weeks we were closed. And then the next 8 weeks when we opened, we were social distancing every other chair. So we did that up to about August. And then about somewhere in August, we put the dividers in between each chair. We put everybody back full time. So from August to the end of December, we ended up being down about 18%.
Yeah.
You know, so our big hit was the first 2 or 3 months, you know, and we're climbing back. Honestly, we had weeks in November and December that was the same as the year before. And then even last week, we were back to 100% to this week last year. You know, so I see business, like I said, even though COVID is still there, I guess, you know, people are just getting used to it. They're taking the risk. They know how to do protocols. And we have not been at all on the protocols. I mean, like zero from the first day. I can truly say we've stuck to everything. But so I think all the locations are doing really well, considering it's out one. I have one location that I'm concerned about. It's the Midtown area of Atlanta. All the people, because we were relying on office buildings there. And it's sort of like New York City, our little tiny little New York City area in Atlanta, and all the people they're not coming back to their offices, they're saying, until June. So they're Zooming, and there's been a lot more crime in that area. So people are selling their houses, people are living in their second homes outside of Atlanta up in the mountains. And so that location, I'm really the most concerned about. I think the rest of them, by the end of the year, we're going to be very close back to being normal, you know.
Don't you have a new one? Weren't you in the middle of opening up a new one when in the thick of it?
Yeah, we did. We opened up one in Virginia Highlands. We moved the location, so it opened up May, you know, right in the middle. We were still doing construction in March and April during the pandemic to
Yeah.
get it open because we had to be out of our own space. But that one's doing pretty well because the excitement of it's really a beautiful space. It's probably my favorite space, and the staff was energized. It's on a great visibility corner, and that one's like really, you know, starting to crank and do very well, you know. So like I said, really it's just one. And I would say right now we're down about, on a bad week, 15%, but most weeks we're averaging about 10% down right now.
Yeah. Well, that's a hell of a
And
lot better
yeah,
than down 30. Yes.
yeah, and I'll say too, you know, we were very fortunate that we were in the state that opened back up early. You know, it's I can't imagine. I mean, I know our situation would be completely different in California, completely different in New York, you know. So every state's different. It really wasn't fair, you know, the way it all shook out with everybody. I do want to mention this. I hope it's okay. In 2 weeks, Aveda's doing what they call California Jam, a virtual hair show. My team's doing a thing, but all the money goes to the salons in California.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So if people want to like look up and log on for that, it would be a good way to help all the salons out in California, you know, because those poor guys being closed for 8 months. I just, you know, my hat's off to them that they're all still scrapping and fighting and hanging in there. A lot of them are.
I see incredible grit by these California owners. I mean, it's
Yeah.
beyond the call of duty. And if you're from California, put it in the chat. I know we normally have, like, you know, Karen Allen, we have Carla Lopez, we have a bunch of people. There's one I'm weighing in right there. So when we were talking to you back in July, you were looking at more right sizing your team, you know, desk and call center, and you know, give us an update on decisions you've made since July as it relates to your team and your infrastructure. And you know, starting first, let's get to education and creative later. For now, let's just talk more front of the house.
Well, you know, I looked at most businesses, you know, they were either laying people off or they were cutting salaries. You know, if they were down 30%, you know, cutting people 30%. And I never did that. I just, a number of reasons, you know, I just couldn't look. I mean, I'm in my mid 60s, you know, I've been working my whole life and saving money. I'm not hurting for money. I'm not making what I was 2 years ago. We're nowhere near. I'm not hurting for money. So I decided that what I would do, I didn't want to look at somebody making 75, 85,000 a year and saying, I got to cut you 25%. And I know they have kids and family and they're single, and I just couldn't do it. So what I did, I just put a freeze on hiring, and we pretty much have stuck to that. So everybody's wearing 2 or 3 hats. I mean, like if we had like probably 3 people, just natural attrition, leave the corporate office. I didn't rehire. And those people were all making 80, 90,000 a year, or different reasons they left. And the front desk, everybody's screaming for more help because we're getting busier again, but I'm not letting them hire more help. So they are running ragged. But my thing, y'all get to keep your income. You're just going to have to dig in harder, you know, and work harder, and they all are, you know. And I think they're appreciative of the fact that no one took a pay cut, you know, no one got fired, you know, for COVID reasons. So that was kind of my way of upriding the ship. And really, we're pretty much back in budget with most things. Like my corporate office, I think we looked at it, we're down to about 4% of our salaries to our revenues. Our front desk, we're running about 5-7%. So it kind of just took care of itself by not rehiring. We were living a little fat. Of course, you know, we were doing 9 million more, so we needed more front desk people and more corporate people. But I just look kind of natural attrition take care of itself. And you know, I'm taking the hit, but my thing, I got thinking about it. I go, for me to get back to where I was in 2019, I kind of need the same team.
Yeah.
You know, like the Patriots didn't get back to the Super Bowl because they don't have Tom Brady anymore. You know, so I want to keep all these people that I've already invested so much in, and they know my culture, and they'll be the people to help me to get it back to where we were. I think one thing that I feel very blessed and very lucky about is that we haven't really lost any hairdresser staff through this. I mean, none. And
You mean, you literally mean zero?
I mean, literally outside of us letting people go, yeah, zero. Like no one's left to go rent a room or any of that stuff through COVID.
Yeah, let me back up a little bit. I want to clarify, or just made a couple comments. You're obviously at a different scale than many on this call, like 9 million here and there. Okay. And I think, you know, I only share numbers if you've already shared them or there's permission. I think you were at the 29 million mark, you know, so you're definitely north of 20 million. A couple kind of shout outs that I want to mention for those of you, regardless of the size of your business, if you hear Van, I mean, even at that type of scale, they're wearing a ton of hats and they're multitasking, they're gritty. And the other thing, Van, I want to give you a shout out. I mean, given the size of your company, you have a great way of just keeping that pulse on each individual in the company, which that scale is really amazing. So I want to congratulate you and just acknowledge, I know that about you. You stay very connected with your team. Um, let's move over to the creative side of the business. And it sounds to me like you made some changes over there.
Yeah, I did. I got Natalie has been my creative director for 20 years, and she did an amazing job. I mean, honestly, she was constantly training 30 people at a time. We probably, when she took over create as as color director, we're doing 10 million a year. So she really is a big part of helping us get to where we are. But after doing it for 20 years, she decided, like, hey, I've had enough. I just want to do 4 days behind. I mean, she brings in tons of money, and so she was just ready to step down. But it really was a good thing because it made me realize that all of our educators and artistic directors, and we'd all been holding these same positions for a long time. And the past year, we hadn't been able to travel, do photo shoots, and do shows, because I thought, this would be a good time to create some new excitement in the company. So I changed out. Daniel stepped down from being the creative director. I moved up Hannah. She's been with us for probably 12 years. She's an amazing hairdresser. So she's a creative director now. She is female. It's funny. One day, me and Daniel was doing a Zoom call for a beauty school, and I'm thinking, I don't know if this looks good. Two old white bald-headed guys, maybe this is not quite the image we want now to go in recruiting, So Hannah's pretty and young, and she's an amazing hairdresser, very hungry. I picked Joey and Ashley. I've split Natalie's job, brought in 2 new color education directors, started a highly textured division. I mean, we're just shaking up the whole move. I just moved all these people around. Daniel moved to the barbershop. I needed more attention there, so he's in the barbershop now, training and educating that. We've really ramped up classes. We're doing demos. We're just wearing our masks. We got a hair show planned in April in Atlanta. We're doing it outside. We're raising money for Earth Month for Chattahoochee River Keepers. But I just, it's really got people excited now that, because Daniel's been the creative director for 20 years now. We got Hannah. Natalie stepped aside. We got Ashley, Joy. We got Kenny in Nevada doing classes every Monday on highly textured hair. So we're really, to me, it's like, because I was looking at everybody in the past year walking in and out of the shop. They all had their head down. They looked beat down. We're all tired. I'm like, what can I do to make things more exciting? So I've just mixed up, changed the whole education team, and I also wanted. It made me realize too, like, people would look at Daniel and Natalie and think, well, they're never leaving. How can I ever have this position? How could I ever do that? It made me realize I'm keeping people in these positions too long. Now, of course, Natalie and Daniel still will be participating in education events and shows and being guests. They're still a big part of it, but I needed to open that door up for the younger people to come in. And I wanted to have these younger guys doing the recruiting in the school. So we've really ramped up recruiting. We've been doing tons of Zoom calls for all the schools and doing live demonstrations, almost every other week, so we're getting a lot of applications of new people. My whole thing is now is just about recruiting, more training, making sure that, this is the place that, people can get the best education to draw those new people in as we start ramping up, and I just, to me, I've got to keep the company young, like I'm really trying to step aside. I don't know where my son will end up in all of this, but now he's got about 1.5 years in the company, and, so I'm just trying to keep it young. I'm trying to bring more excitement in. We're planning on more photo shoots than ever. The new space is really cool. We built it out where we could shoot and do videos in there. Nice. So about every other Sunday, we're going to have people start bringing in models who want to, trying to get more work, more pictures for Instagram and Facebook, all the social media stuff. So just focusing on keeping them excited. And I know that'll feed over to the customers, and that'll keep us to what we've always done and who we've always been. So I think education and not forgetting artistic side of the business is important. And the last year it was very hard to do that. So this year we're trying to do it. And, I'm hoping by April, most of the company's been vaccinated, and, like we can do more and more and feel comfortable doing it, so that's my hope.
Yeah. So tons of silver linings from the pandemic. Chances are you probably wouldn't have made those moves to reinvigorate the creative side of the business if
Absolutely.
the pandemic didn't happen,
Yeah. Yeah, I got a crew now. They haven't really had the opportunity to run with it, so they're fired up. I'm actually pulling back on the reins, because can we do this? Can we do that? Can we spend this? Can we spend that? And, it ain't the best time to be throwing more money out there, but I do like the energy that's going on right now. They're all really fired up to do a lot of creative stuff, and I'm actually a couple other things I'm working on. You can circle back to this in 6 months. I'm talking to this company out from Georgia Tech about doing some AI training, for putting together AI training for all the front desk, and consultations where people would sit down and be trained by a computer on how to answer the phone and how to deal with problems, and even how to sit down with clients and do consultations, and the AI give them feedback, and then we can look and score them. So I've been talking pretty heavily to these guys.
Nice.
Trying to get, also talking to another company, trying to get digital cards made. Like instead of having paper cards, the hairdresser will have a digital, and an AR code, and they can just bump somebody's phone. It sends all their contact numbers to that client, and they'd be able to book right off their phone. So those are a couple things I'm hoping to have in place in the next 6 months, too. So I'm just trying to, just be innovative and trying to, just keep everybody excited and stay focused.
So we have owners and managers on here, and you mentioned, a long face and being down, and there's still a lot of very discouraged, burned out owners, including several on this call that I personally know of. And I love you speaking about the less seasoned members of your team and how they bring the excitement, the energy, and it's got to be contagious, And so for those owners out there that are feeling like I'm burned out, I want out of here. I mean, in a little bit, I'll talk about some of the work I'm doing to help people in making the decision: do they grow or do they go? Do they exit out of their business? So it seems to me that some of these moves are really going to help bring that level of excitement that you're talking about. So for those salon owners that they don't have 8 locations, they don't have the kind of infrastructure you have, and they're out there gritty, they're working their ass off, what advice do you have, or what type of counsel would you give them?
Well, I definitely would lean on my staff and try to make everybody feel part of something, let them know how much like you need them and they need you, like you need each other, and start letting different people do a demonstration once a month, inviting people to come in and watch, just anything. Have some shoots put together for Instagram. People can shoot for pictures for Instagram, but I would try to add in the creative side of it, because we can't snap our finger and get 30% of our clients back. We've gone through and called. I tell you what, we have recaptured a lot of clients by actually calling them and talking to them that hadn't been in, and convinced them it was okay to come in and safe. But there's a lot of people just aren't ready to come back in, so I've told my staff, for a lot of things, like every dollar we spend, I want it somehow attached to an ass in the chair. Like, how do we get people back? But right now it's pretty hard to figure out how to advertise, and and it's all social media stuff, that the clients are looking at. So I'd say, try to, if you're not a salon that's been creative, it's not as, people try to make it harder than it is. And it's really not. You can get a local photographer that will shoot for nothing. It doesn't have to be like a picture Antoinette's doing for your Instagram, and get a few clients in and just try to have fun with your staff is what I would say. Try to have fun with your staff, and like I've been going to classes on Monday because it's a different atmosphere than work day. It's lighter, it's funner. I sit around, talk to people, even, and we're in masks, we're social distancing, but I go in, I can see people from all different locations, and I see people learning. I can talk to them about creative stuff, and it's just a good energy on Monday. And I think that carries through the week. So I just would encourage you just to try to do something with your staff on the creative side. That's not so much tension and pressure, and everybody's it just feels a lot better on Monday than it does on Thursdays right now.
Yeah.
It really does.
Next place I want to go is you did an interview of Russell Brand for Serious Business, and a lot of people talked about that interview. It was a combination of a lot of different things, and you and I spoke about that briefly, and it was really an epic interview. And I know that there's a lot sort of behind the scenes that went into that. So a lot of people were moved by that. They laughed, they cried, it was really cool. Love to hear your perspective on that, because I know that you put a lot of preparation in that, and a lot of people don't really see the preparation that you put into things. I mean, I remember staying at your house and being in your basement and looking at this wall of books, which was about, 20 feet long. I said, how many of these books have you read? And you just looked at me like I was asked a dumb question. It was like, all of them. He said, I think what you said is, do you want to know how many I read twice? And I go, holy shit, this guy's a student. So anyway, your success doesn't happen by accident. So let's talk about the Russell Brand interview, your experience, the preparation and all of that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I see Carol's on here, Augusta. So thank you, Carol. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have got to do it, obviously.
We did a special invite to make sure she was with us today. Hello, Carol. Thanks for joining us.
So it's Carol and Deborah's idea. I don't know which one of them particularly. I guess it was a joint thing, but they asked me to do it. And I literally in the beginning, I was like, I don't know if I'm the one that should be doing that, because I was familiar with him and his podcast. I think that guy's really, really smart. Sometimes I listen to his podcast. I got to pull out a dictionary he used like some really big words. And, sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what those words mean, but I wasn't sure if I was the right one to do that. But Deborah wanted me to, because of my relationship with Michael. And, Russell Brand's been through a lot of stuff, and, a lot of addictions, and he's got books of 12 steps. And so anyhow, she wanted me to do it because of Michael. So I agreed to. So I did spend about a month. I listened to every podcast he did. Every night. Some of them with Joe Rogan, Matthew McConaughey, they were 2 hours long. But so I felt like I kind of got to know what he was all about. He's very spiritual. He's very healthy. It's like a lot of stuff, all the Kundalini, the yoga and the breathing exercise. I used to do some of that stuff with Horace, and he's into fasting. And a lot of things he was into, I like doing myself, all the health rituals, stretching. And, but anyhow, it's funny because I was like, well, I asked Deborah, I said, what do you want me to talk to? What am I talking to this guy about? She goes, well, as long as you somehow talk about addiction and mental illness, whatever you want to. So through Carol, I got to communicate with him a little bit, and they asked for a list of questions. So I came up with about 10 questions I sent him. I didn't hear back his opinion on the questions, if they were good or bad, or we're going to talk about them. But what was a little tricky for me, because they let him start off the first 15 minutes. I'm listening to him like everybody else is. I don't have an idea what his first 15 minutes is going to be. Of course, he's very all over the place. He's like a tornado bouncing around. He's talking about his pants, about his hair. And I'm sitting there thinking like, what, how am I going to get him off of these subjects? But he's so smart, really, like, you just ask him a question and he can run with it. I don't think you could ever stump him with a question, but I was very energized by him, talking to him. And then when it was over, I got to stay on the Zoom, just have general conversation with him. You know, it seemed like a really nice guy. Like I said, I didn't have to do a lot, just kind of just listen very well. I feel like that's one of my strengths is listening. So I just listened very well, and I just would feed off of things that he would talk about, you know. But he's so knowledgeable in so many areas, you know, political, health. I mean, he's such a student, you know, like, so he was easy to interview, honestly. I think anybody could have done it, you know, so.
Well, I'm not quite sure about that, Van. I think your humility is coming across here. I think that's a very tough assignment, especially with very tough topics. You know, mindset is so important. And I know that you are always working on your mindset and health. And what, you know, looking at our group out here, we have a ton of people on this call. And I know mindset is, you have several practices. Any comments, anything you want to share with the group in terms of making sure that they maintain that mindset so that they become a strong entrepreneur and get through, in many cases, our very trying times?
You know, I don't have anything new profound, but I have really learned. You know, I had some health issues a couple of years ago that I expect, and then, you know, through COVID, I mean, I have learned to work on being more grateful for everything, you know, and I don't say that I don't care that we're down 9 million, but I don't care as much as you would think I would care, honestly, because I'm still healthy now. You know, I still got food on my table. My kids are healthy. I got a great staff. So I'm just grateful every morning to really be able to get up and still have my business. You know, I still have it. All I got to do is work on rebuilding it. If I do the right things, it's going to rebuild. Life will return to some kind of normalcy. It may take another 2 years, but it will. But, you know, if you're not homeless, you got so much to be grateful for, and if you got good family. So I think, you know, just if you stay grateful, then you're going to feel better every day. And then just by feeling better, good things are going to happen. You know, and it just goes back down to taking care of people and taking care of your staff, you know, just giving, you know, just trying to give to as many people as you can. And I think in the end, you're going to be fine. You know, I think everybody in this group is going to definitely survive through this. And I think the industry is going to, you know, return just about to where it was. You're still going to have salon suites. They're not taking over, but they'll still be there. But I think there's going to be a place for people like us, and maybe even better, that we can, you know, students going to need a place to go train. They're going to need a place to build their clienteles. You know, I think there's going to be middle ground that's going to disappear. There will be high-end salons, and there's going to be rentals, you know, and you're going to choose, you know, a lot of people I know are switching over to rentals that were commission. I think people are going to choose one or the other. So we're going to push to be higher and charge more prices and to separate ourselves even more, you know. And I think with all the new technology stuff coming out, and I tell you, it's easier to get education now than ever. I mean, oh my God, you don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to spend a dime. You can go to Hairbrain, or, I mean, all these hairdressers have, every time I pick up my phone, there's somebody doing a haircut on Instagram or a color, which is great. I mean, great education, you know. So I just to say, be grateful. You know, I mean, honestly, I mean, the only thing I'm going to lose out of this pandemic, it would be material things, which I can live without. I mean, that's the way I look at it. So, you know, I think we're all going to be good.
Well, that's a pretty damn good way to close out the share with you. I love it, man. It's awesome. And, you know, the industry is absolutely evolving in a lot of ways. And I think that I love to hear you're innovating in the process. And okay, it is time to award you the $1 million light bulb. Actually, for the record, since you've now been on here twice, you get 2 million. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Can't get you the 9 million, but we can maybe get you 2. All right. Will that help?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So anyway, let's
donate mine to California. I'm pulling for those guys out there.
How about that, huh?
Yeah,
Carla, I think you're gonna love that, and so will Con. I'm not sure. I think Carrie Bennett's on it here, so that's awesome. So everybody, let's
yeah.
give Van a loud, actually it can't be loud, a virtual applause. Bravo, Van. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tom.
I'm gonna put you on the calendar in about maybe 3 or 4 months. I'd love, you got some
Yeah,
other technology that we saved for a future call.
yeah, absolutely.
So you're very gracious to be with us today. Are you getting up to your mountain place often, or?
Not the last couple months, but I hate to tell you guys this. It is going to be almost 70 degrees here today, sunny. So in about 2 or 3 hours from now, we'll be outside on a bike ride with just short sleeves on.
Yeah, well, for those of you that really care about the weather, that would be a 3 degree there, okay, and
Ouch.
Chanhassen,
Ouch.
Minnesota. And we are showing lows into the negatives through next Thursday. So
Woo.
anyway,
Yeah, good
um,
luck with that.
well, you know what they say, there is no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So
Bad
fortunately,
gear.
we have our expedition weight gear up here in Minnesota. So Van, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Thank you.
We
All right.
appreciate
Good
it.
seeing everyone. Thank you.
If you're not homeless, you've got a lot to be grateful for. All right, let's see who's on the call here. So I've got definitely some other things to share with you guys. Who do we got today? Alan joined us. Alan Ruiz. Good morning, Alan. I don't think we've had you on here. Glad you joined us. Amanda. Hello, Amanda and Austin. Candace G, Candace H, Carol Augusto. Carol, what such a great job with Serious Business. Van gave you a shout out. I want to do the same thing. Christine B, Connie S, Eduardo, good morning. Hi, Jackie, Jan, Jesus. Jesus, glad you're able to join us today. Joe and Karen Deanda, always nice to have you guys on from Colorado. Hello, Jan. We have Josh is on here too. Hey, Josh. Carrie Bennett, Carla Lopez, Kate from ILOF, our guest last week, Kat from South Dakota, Katie from Wisconsin, Kelly from Wisconsin. Hello, Ken, Con, Chris, Linda, Lisa Knight. Hello, Linnell. Good morning. Hello, Marcy in Ohio, I believe, right? Mark Gonzalez, how are things in New Mexico? Good morning. Megan from Arizona. Melissa, Michelle. Hello, Nina from Pennsylvania. Philip, Rebecca, Salvador, good morning or afternoon. I think it's morning. Sam, Sarah, Susan, Terry McKee, Tina from Alaska, and Tracy. So what a great group we have joining us today. So I've got a few other things before we wrap things up here, guys. Let's see what we got here. All right. All right, so Qnity in action. Our coaches are busy. One of the things that Van mentioned is education. There's a lot of education right now, but what we're seeing is a huge need for that one-on-one private coaching to help navigate your way through all sorts of areas, and looking for breakthroughs in growth, leadership, engagement, profitability, et cetera, execution. Our coaches are doing an amazing job. We do have a complimentary gap analysis. All you have to do is just book a call, and we'll go through and we'll do an assessment with you to see where you stand as it relates to 5 key areas of needed, such as execution, engagement, profitability, leadership, and growth. And then a lot of my time is spent really helping owners and members of the team decide, do you want to grow or you want to go? And a lot of activity in this area right now. There's several transactions going on. The pandemic has really been an impetus and accelerator for people to decide whether they want to sell their business, when they want to open up another location, bring on employees. And there's a lot of really interesting things going on, especially because of extra liquidity from PPP. And then also there's some unique tax opportunities right now that we're finding as we're helping owners and key members of their team look at transitioning here. So anyway, if you need help in that area, let me know. You can just reach out and we can perhaps just set up a call to see if we can help you with any of that. Our schedule, so we've got a roundtable, looks like the next couple weeks, then we have a break. Closing thoughts. Geez, I don't have any closing thoughts. My closing thoughts are how Van ended. And I think Aaron summed it up at the very end. If you're not homeless, You have a lot to be grateful for. So anyway, on that note, thanks for joining us today, guys, for our 34th Financial Roundtable. Again, a shout out to Van Council for his help. Shout out to Michelle Schuster, my partner in crime, the sort of the producer off here on the side. There's a little wave from Michelle. And we're grateful for you guys, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Thanks again.